ways to thermal set and form acrylics and polycarbonates. They created gun turrets and canopies for aircraft during the war. They took that technology to skylights, and in 1951 they got one of America's first patents for single dome skylights. And then a year later, one of the first patents for double dome skylights. We've evolved from unit skylights in the form of domes to barrel vaults, glazed systems, metal frame skylights. We cover right now just about all divisions of openings for Division 8, including vertical wall systems. So we're now doing translucent vertical walls all the way back down, diving back to domes. Three things that Velux actually brought to the table that we weren't involved with. Number one was sun tunnels. They're popular in the United States. They're great for bringing daylight into core spaces. And Wasco wasn't heavily involved in that. They brought a modular skylight system, which Kevin and I like to say, think IKEA. The skylight system can come to the roof in a kit. Crates that are undone, and your skylight is pre-glazed. You bolt it all together, you snap in your flashings, no sealants, and it's all modular, and it's all put together right in the field. That was new to us. It has a new framing system. The interior's ultruded composite product versus aluminum. And then they also brought what they call a dynamic dome, which is one of the few FM rated dome skylights in the United States. Has a prismatic inner light and then a polycarbonate fall protection rated outer light. So really, to wrap it up, Wasco is one of the most comprehensive daylighting manufacturers in America. Again, everything from unit skylights to sun tunnels to monumental window and wall systems and translucents. And we're represented locally by Roofing Sales. Got to mention I'm from Minnesota. The Velux folks are located down in South Carolina, and Wasco is located up in Wells, Maine. But Roofing Sales is your go-to, and if you have any questions or like want budget pricing, that sort of thing, give Kevin Dial a call. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. That was a great overview of the program. I can tell you, my name is Mike Chance with Velux Skylight Company. I've been the rep for 22 years in the St. Louis market, and it's pleasing to me to see the growth of our company and the shared, I always call it shared visions of both Wasco and Velux. Two great companies that came together, and really, like Mark said, we are now one of the more dominant skylight companies really in the world. Velux got its start back in 1941 in Copenhagen, Denmark. Our founder was an architectural glazing engineer, and he started the company with the idea that he could make a roof window better than any vertical glass out there. And so today, years later, from that 1941 beginning, it's just a proud moment to see that expansion continue. So I always like to tell my architectural friends that I can say yes now more than I can say no. We've continued on the residential side. I focus mostly on the residential side now. Kevin is actually doing all the commercial for Velux and the Wasco arm of the company. I deal a lot with the residential side as far as multifamily, condos, single family residential, whether it's retrofitting, re-roofing, that kind of thing, and anything to do with the daylighting on the residential side. So I would encourage you all, if you have any projects that you're working on residentially, I would love to work with you on those. And again, I think Mark said it best, that two great companies coming together, and we continue to innovate. If you get time, take a look at some of our new features outside. Everything that we do is to improve really the space in general. We really bring daylight to the spaces in a great way. So thank you very much for having us. Appreciate that.
All right, Steve, George, you're up.
Michael just said this better be good. Not as good as our sponsors though. Thank you guys very much for sponsoring tonight. What I want to talk to you about briefly is the North Central Region Conference and our need for volunteers. We have some people that have stepped up and agreed to do some things for us, and we really appreciate their help. But some things we still need help for is a head volunteer for transportation to help us get from different events. If you want to eat dinner on Wednesday night, who doesn't want to eat dinner on a Wednesday night? We'd like you to escort one of our a group of people to a restaurant. They're paying for their own dinner. You pay for your own dinner. It's all good, but find something in the Central West End you like. We're looking for somebody to help with booklets, program guides, booklets, what's going on at the conference. If you're interested or have a graphic affinity, please let me know. Let's see, graphics, pretty set on everything else. The one thing we do need though, if you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't have a lot of time, if you could just give us an hour or two, next month I'll have a registration sheet here for you to sign up. Give us an hour or two of your time to help with the welcome desk, sign up, registration, whatever you want to call it. We're going to have an active desk from 7 in the morning to about 6 at night every day, so that people come in, they register that they've paid for it and everything, and then you give them a gift bag and they go about their happy way. So that's what we need some help doing. If you can do that, I'd appreciate it. George?
Well, we've done this since 2002. So every 17 years, our chapter has a chance to shine. And we really do want to see everybody out there helping us out. And plus, it's kind of a fun time, too.
So I want to talk to you briefly as a member of the Programs Committee. I'm in charge of next month's program. So to promote that a little bit, I reached out to our speaker, Lindy Hunt, with Ironshore. She's going to be, she's an insurance representative. And some of her topics she's going to discuss are insurance and bonding, which is the overall topic. But a couple of the other items she mentioned, and I also want to point out there's a little card at your tabletop there. So keep in mind what I'm reading off. If something strikes your mind that you have a question about, please jot it down. She'd like to know your questions ahead of time if you have any, so she can prepare an answer for you guys. But she's talking about period of options and how state statutes of repose factor in insurance requirements, warranties and guarantees and specifications, contractors' pollution and additional insured, value engineering, that one really piqued my mind, professional liability applications, helpful hints. And Lindy is very active. She works for Liberty Mutual Insurance in Chicago. She's coming down to talk to people here at Ironshore. One of the things that struck me about her is her passion for her job, and you'll really hear it if you come to next month's When you come to next month's presentation, you'll really hear it. I expected a 10-15 minute conversation with her when I got on the phone to start discussing this program. About an hour and a half later, I got off the phone with her going, wow, she really likes what she does. So I encourage you to come next month with your questions. If you have any, jot them down tonight. I'll be happy to send them to her so she can get an answer for you guys. But really look forward to seeing you next month, talking about insurance and bonds as it relates to construction and the industry. Likewise, if you don't have any questions, love your feedback on tonight's presentation too. Liked it, hated it, want more of it, let us know. Programs Committee always wants to hear your feedback, so thank you guys. And George is going to do something else.
I am. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to sort of craft what our presentation is going to be next month. We love to have your feedback, and I don't know, Steve and I have been on the program committee now for more years than we can count. And we're often asked sometimes, well, why did you have that program? What motivated you to do that? I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight's program and give you a sense of why we are doing this. Valentine's Day of this year, February 14th, was the first anniversary of the Parkland shootings, where 17 people were killed, mostly children, and 17 were hurt. In December 12th of 2012, at Sandy Hook, 28 young children were killed and 2 more were hurt. At Columbine, April 20th, 1999, which really kind of started this epidemic we've had of school shootings, 15 were killed and 21 more were hurt. Those are the sobering facts, and I think when these school shootings happen, our first impulse is we have to save the kids. So we urgently want to get things done, and we often, as parents, as loved ones, want to do things that aren't really appropriate. I worked in the door hardware industry for the last 4 or 5 years of my career at Allegion, where Ron Groves works now. And one of the things, as a longtime architect, getting into this intense specification thing of door hardware, that really struck me is it's a balance between safety and security. One of the issues that I think we've been running into in this urge to make our schools safer and more secure is that we're not necessarily looking at life and safety. So I'm normally not this somber, but this is kind of a somber topic. Let me introduce the speaker. Ron Rhodes is actually young looking, but he's been in the hardware industry for all his life. He told me a wonderful story. Can I steal it from you about how you got into it? He wrecked his dad's Bonneville when he was 14, and to pay it off, his dad said, "Come to work for me." Well, his dad was a hardware distributor for Seco Doors in Kansas City, and Ron has been working in the hardware industry ever since. He's been with Allegion since October, moved to St. Louis, so we can welcome him here. He is an architectural spec writer and hardware spec writer for Allegion, and his topic tonight is going to be classroom security, and he'll focus on the right way of doing things. Ron Rhodes.
Give you guys a good chance to finish your all's meal. Right. So, my name is Ron Groves. I am the specification consultant, project coordinator here for Allegion in St. Louis. I recently just moved here at the end of October, so I am new to the area. So, the more friends I can meet, the better it makes my life. So, I appreciate you guys having me tonight. Just a quick little shout out who I've got here tonight with me. Mike Kershaw, he's our architectural consultant here in the local area. So, he does a lot of help kind of coordinating, getting samples, and getting kind of their architects what they need. And then Gerald Westbrook, he is a spec writer here for us as well. So that brings some support with me tonight. But yeah, this is I'm not going to step away from I think I can talk loud enough. Can everybody hear me back there? Okay, good. Yep. To me, this is a very, very important topic, just because Like George said, I've been in this industry my whole life. I've got to see doors, frames, hardware from the field all the way now to the front of the project of specifying and creating the project. So understanding what actually works and what sounds great, I think I've got to see a lot of different variations of that. And the thing that I've noticed the most recently, and George touched on this, is a quick fix for door hardware. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the national trend, what's kind of the hot thing to do right now, but reason why it's not the best thing to do. So we'll kind of get into all that as we go on tonight. So yeah, this is just a little quick information. So balancing security and safety is one of our biggest challenges facing architects in school design. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be talking about securing classrooms from intruder, but also how it's also violating life safety codes and different things like that. Hopefully tonight what we can do is we can explain the dangers of using barricade devices in schools' classrooms, define the applicable building and life safety codes prohibiting barricade devices, differentiate among various code compliant hardware options, and then explaining how we can actually be better in securing our schools. It's not just the classroom entry door. I'd like to say if the shooter gets to the classroom door, we didn't do our jobs as building the building. So we're going to kind of go into that as well. Let me just click through this. So tonight we want to talk about what is a barricade device, dangers of barricade devices. We're going to talk a little bit about code. We're going to talk, like I said, we're going to talk about the right way to do this. There are so many different options. I think when I was preparing for this presentation, I first was introduced to this about 3 years ago. And the things I started researching just for the past month, I could not believe how many more different devices have already came out. And it just seems like every time a situation happens, there's 20 or 30 different things out there now, and you really can't keep track of what's going on. But the consistency, what I've seen with all of it, it's all bad. It's all bad. And that's just basically the easiest way to put it. So first I want to talk about what is the definition of a barricade device. To block something so that people or things cannot enter or leave. And the first rule of any type of opening is we're always allowed to have free egress out of the open. And so the definition itself starts it off in a bad conversation. The benefits they talk about of barricade devices are always going to outweigh, I guess, the risk. And that's a myth. It's not true. You know, I've got a couple here tonight I'll show you. But you know, these things are costing anywhere from $80 to $200 a unit. You know, we're putting grade 1 classroom locks on our doors. So you're putting those costs together. Are you really saving money by trying to skim through and cut a little cost somewhere? I don't think so. So the conversation with barricade devices has always started off in a bad place. And that's a lot of the reason why is because it's always brought up after a bad situation has happened. You know, there are lots of different types of barricade devices out there, like I said. Like I said, when I looked at it this past couple weeks, I couldn't believe some of the new things. And all they are trying to do is get as close as they can, because every single code that they're breaking, they are trying to find a better way to meet that code instead of just doing it the right way. You know, things of repeating the closers, you know, blocking the unit, putting things on the floor. You know, this little closer sleeve, this thing here to get it shipped to me cost me close to $100. I will say this, I did pay for 2 days shipping, so maybe a little extra, but like you said, urgency, right? You would think that this thing's complex, it's going to be something sophisticated that really is going to make us feel comfortable, right? It's a piece of metal, okay? There's no lockdown device, you just hope that you can slide that on there and it's gonna save all of our kids. I'll pass these around and everyone can kind of look at them just to play with them. But, so, you know, closer sleeve, that's one type of device. It's funny, they don't even put this picture the correct way. This device here is actually supposed to slide over the lever, and it's got a crank, and you're gonna crank it, okay? That's not smart. This one here, who's ever had to go out to a job site after a year and listen to the maintenance guy have to adjust a bunch of doors? The building's settled, everything's moved. So we're going to rely on a surface mount floor bolt that's going to protect our kids. So these are just kind of the little examples out there that they've got going on right now. And I promise you we'll get into every little detail of why these are all bad. Why are they used? First off, they're less expensive. The idea is it's less expensive than purchasing new locks. You know, we can buy this one little device and we can keep our door the exact same, and we don't have to add anything. You know, big technology now, wireless lock sets. You know, nobody wants to pay for those because that costs money. How much is it worth to your children? They're easy to procure online. Traditional hardware, you know, whoever's looking at a hardware spec, I know I do, and I got to look up a lot of these product numbers. I don't know what a WS406-33 whatever is. Sometimes I've got to look those up. So to a mother, to a parent, to a faculty member that's ready to be passionate about it, they don't want to go learn about door hardware. They want to save their children. So these are kind of quick fixes for that. They can be installed, I say by carpenters, they can be installed by anybody. You know, we can hire Gerald to go put 500 on a door. Gerald, how many barricade devices have you installed in your life?
0.
I know you can do it. I know you can do it.
Good.
You know, like I said, these things are marketed based on fear. You know, if you watch the little promo videos, I mean, it scares you to death. It doesn't make me. My daughter's about to be 11 years old. She's in 5th grade. I watch some of these videos. I don't want to send her to school. It makes it sound like she's going to a war zone. And if these are really how we're promoting school and teaching kids that this is what's going to go on, I don't think that's a great environment to listen to how, you know, how to be. You know, parenting groups, fundraising to purchase them. I watched a video. 300 classrooms. They purchased one of these devices right here for every single classroom. Now this thing is super cool. Sounds scary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's playing with that, right? Okay? I'm wanting my daughter to see this every day when she's sitting at school. Propped right up there next to the front door. Knowing any moment she could use this. My daughter's a leader. She'd be the one to step up and say, teacher, I'm going to be the one to put that in front of the door. Do I really want her going around sliding this thing and hoping that she's going to protect her whole classmates, putting her in harm's way? This is really what we're saying is going to protect our kids? So, be careful with this, guys. This thing does violence, so I do not want to hurt somebody. So, you know, like I said, teachers got a great deal on those. 300 classrooms, $100 a piece. They spent $30,000 to put those in all the schools. What could have we done with $30,000 to help secure our classrooms? We could have put that money to a lot better use. So, are we really saving money? I don't think so. Perceptions that the locks aren't good enough. You know, they talk about, well, it's just a cylindrical lock. How's that going to protect our family? This is a statistic that is a very, very big one. There has never ever been an active shooter situation where they have breached a locked door. Now think of that. Out of all the situations that we've had, all these school shootings, nothing has ever happened where someone has busted into a locked door. But we want to blame the lock. We want to say it's the lock's fault. And like I said, back to the fear issue. Schools are under pressure to do something, anything. They've got to do something. They don't have time to go talk with hardware consultants. They don't have time to think of a better way to design their building. They need to act now, and this is what's being portrayed as going to save everybody. So let's talk. Yes.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
When fire marshals who do their annual inspections in schools go through and see these things, do you know what they think of them or say of them?
We'll get into that, but since you brought it up, let's talk about it real quick. They say get them out. They say, no, doesn't meet code. We built these really thick code books. We spend all this time getting these code books where we need to be at. No, we're not going to break every single rule that we've made to save in every type of situation, because we want to be cheap and we just want to get it out of our hair. So, but yeah, we'll get a little bit of the code and kind of what goes on there. So yeah, right here, not complying with your model building codes, your fire code, your ADA, that little surface bolt I showed you, it's got to be a smooth surface on that bottom of the door. You can't have things mounted on there. May deter or prevent evacuation. May take time to locate during an emergency, increasing lockdown time. That big thing there, where are you going to put it? Are you going to put it in sight where kids can see it? Are you going to put it where anybody can have access to it? So you got to, we already, when we're designing classrooms, we already know we don't have enough space in our rooms already. The teachers are always talking about we need bigger classrooms, we need more resources, we need this. So we're going to spend a lot of time to try to figure out where to put that thing. To be deployed, an unauthorized person to secure a classroom and commit a crime. I don't know. If a kid wanted to be bullied, what's stopping you from taking that thing and barricading the kid you wanted to beat up in class? Who's going to get in there to help prevent it? Barracuda's already told you that's the best thing in the world. You're not going to break into the door there. They've already told you. They're going to prevent anything. So, are we really wanting to be a little cheap and get it out of our hair just because we want to get it done? Another myth, emergency responders can easily defeat barricade devices. Look at that. I hope this isn't a classroom, because that's a dirty classroom. Sure is. How's fire going to be able to come in here and clear this room out? How are they going to get to that? That was a question. Anybody want to try to answer?
Jaws of life.
Jaws of life, yeah. Well, even the fire department's saying, we don't have a solution how to get into these. They're trying to figure it out. So while all these things are being made, the people that's supposed to be protecting us don't know how to get through it. So, like to me, is that a really good situation? I don't think so. Fire marshals do not have authority over barricade devices that are not permanently attached to the door. Another question. What fire marshal will allow you to chain the doors?
City of St. Louis.
Do they?
I've got a photograph on my computer that the Scott Trade Center has blue wrapped cables around the doors with padlocks.
Now that it's empty, or-
non-game days.
Well, that,
Enterprise Center.
I promise you, that'll change. Kids are in this building. How do you padlock this if nobody's in this school? So we're breaking life safety, fire code just right here, because how are they going to get out there? Someone's got to lock that in there. Now, what they'll tell you is, oh, well, there's another door that you can get out of after we padlock it. Okay. Well, I hope to God a bad situation doesn't happen. Well, we lock these and you got to go run across. So, if if the fire marshal tells you no on those, the thing that we put in the front of our classroom, it's a lot easier to know for them to say on those as well. So, maybe they'll let you pass on the scout trade field. Another myth, the risk of fire during an active shooter situation is low. So code requirements are not a priority. This is I wish I had a little bit updated one, but this was a pretty cool stat that I read. From 2011 to 2015, almost 5,000 structure fires in educational properties annually. Think of that, close to 5,000, 4,980, just so I'm not exaggerating. On average, there is 1 civilian death. There are 70 civilian injuries. There's over $70 million in direct property damage. This is the reason why they make the fire codes. Because of the codes that they create, we're only having 1 death. Now that, to me, it seems too many. But you know what? If we just abandon all of our codes, what do you think this number will do? Do you think it'll improve? No. Do we want to be part of a situation where our name's put upon something like that because we want to use cool barricade devices to promote that? I don't think it's worth the risk. So, your IBC, your IFC, your NFPA, you know, these are the codes that we use. You know, you guys do projects all around the country. You know, this is your holy grail right here. This is where we start from. Now, if you're doing a project, you can follow a lot more different kinds of rules, or even Florida's kind of getting that way. But they all have the same language in these rules, saying that you have to be able to freely get out of any type of room. You have to freely be able to get out of any type of building. Not because we just want to make you do that, but because that is the best safety practice, and the reason why we spent so many years developing these rules. This is what's going to prevent the biggest disasters from happening. 2018 edition of these codes, they maintain the address requirements and add a requirement for emergency responder access from outside with a key or approved means. Knox box, right? We put the key in the Knox box. Responders have the access. They can get to the whole building, and they can clear the rooms, and they can get to access very quickly. You start putting barricade devices on it, what's the point of having a Knox box? So these codes were made for a reason, and I don't think we should scrap them just because we're trying to find a quick fix. Another part of the code, doors must unlatch with one operation. Handle, push out. Can't do that if you're trying to pull a closure sleeve off. I don't think I can reach, I'm only 5'6". I don't think Martin reaches up that high. Especially now with everyone building these 8'10" openings. Definitely won't be able to reach those. You know, no key, tool, special knowledge, or effort. You better be able to just turn that handle and get out of the room. That's what they're wanting. Plain and simple. It's not, there's no addendum, there's no contradicting statement. That's what they want. No tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. Releasing hardware mounted between 34 to 48 inches above the floor. Where's that closer sleeve? Where's that floor bolt? And then authorize access from the outside with a key or approved means. Yes, George?
We can hear you fine in the room, but currently on our feed, we're having a hard time hearing you. So can you speak towards the room?
Yes.
And it should work fine.
Is it a little better now?
I'll find out in just
Thank
a
you.
second.
All right. So this is talking a little bit about ADA standards. We've gone over it. You know, we've talked about how they're wrong. You got to have that smooth surface. You got to have an ability, like I said, to be able to get out of that room. You know, operable with one hand. Once again, no tight grasping, pinching, or twisting of the wrist. That's 34 to 48 inches.
the thing that always surprised me about the ADA standards is that it sort of defeats the purpose of the device, the barricade device, if a disabled person can't use it anyway, right? I mean, you want anyone in the classroom to be able to lock it down.
Right, that's a good point. I never even thought of that. Yeah. So, 5 pounds of force, max operate the hardware, 15 pounds of force, push-pull operation. These are direct statements in the code. There's no mincing words. That's what they want. So, we talk about the building codes, we talk about our fire codes, we talk about ADA. So let's go by one example. That closer sleeve. Are you going to be able to latch that door with one releasing option? No, you're not. Certified for use on fire door assembly. Are these certified for fire doors? What happens if you screw or you modify a fire door? It's done. You can't reuse it. You voided your fire warranty. It's got to go. Operate without tightening or tight grasping, pinching, or twisting. I don't know. Seem pretty easy to just casual to slide off? I don't think so. Egress without a key, tool, special knowledge, or effort. Probably don't need a lot of special knowledge, but you at least need to have some type of knowledge. Maybe somebody didn't know that this was up here. That's the type of knowledge. We got to do training for this. We got to teach our kids how to use these types of devices. In an active shooter situation, when the panic, the franticness is coming around, do I want my child to be in a military mindset? I think that'll work, and I want you guys to be honest. Are there any of these situations that you actually think that something like that'll work? Yeah, me neither. You know, so we're going to spend close to $200 trying to put fancy devices on these openings. Well, maybe we could spend a little bit more and say, you know, let's instead of doing cylindrical, let's do a mortise lock with an inside indicator. So that teacher knows that they've got a thumb turn. But maybe they don't have to go up to that opening because they already know that that opening's locked because it's indicating it. Maybe we can give them a little bit of satisfactory feeling there. Out of all these devices that we've shown you, what's the one common theme to operate these? You got to go in front of the opening to install it. I know me, like George says, I'm a young buck, right? Okay, I got to do this training. And the first thing they teach you is you get away from the windows, you get away from the doors, you go hide in a secure spot. We turn the lights off, we shut the blinds. But that one person's going to be responsible for going right in front of that opening. How many sidelights do we put in our classroom openings? You know? We want to have a little light come in. We want to make the kids feel comfortable. How comfortable are they going to feel that knowing that they're the ones that got picked to go put that in front? So, these are little things I think we can do to make our kids feel a lot better at school. The consequences of installing barricade devices. This is a great example, and this is one of our colleagues in our office showed me. In California, this school purchased $200,000 worth of barricade devices. That college was ready to lock down, and they had the solution, and they were going to do it. Didn't ask anybody, they acted. They didn't want to go through no committees, they wanted to act. They were going to save the children. Fire marshal came, pulled it all off. Said, if you don't have it off, we're gonna fine you. Oh, and also these openings were all fire rated. So now you have to replace the doors. So that's the big consequences. Potential for unauthorized use to secure classrooms to commit a crime. We talked about Sandy Hook. We talked about Parkland shooting. There's a Platte Canyon school. There was an instance where a gentleman literally walked through the whole school, went to an open classroom, barricaded himself in, and held 7 girls hostage. They had to use explosives to blow that door up to go in there and save the last remaining hostages. And one of the girls died because of a barricade device. Now, was it one of these barricades? I'm not going to say that, because I don't think it was. I think it was something he made. But the point was, it was a barricade device.
There's a bigger problem there than just the barricade device.
And we're going to get into that. Exactly. It's always the lock's fault at the school classroom door. Like I said at the beginning of this presentation, if we're trying to fight at the classroom door, we've neglected every other opening to getting into that classroom. So, another myth. Law sets do not provide enough protection against active shooters. This is what we talked about. The testimony of other evidence presented in the commission revealed that there has never been an event in which an active shooter has breached a locked classroom door. So do locks save lives? A locked one does.
This displays on the outside or the inside of the door.
You can have it either or. You can do it where you have an indicator on the inside and outside. Nobody wants to pay for mortise locks. Too expensive. They don't see the value in it. There's some value that I see in these classroom locks, especially the mortise ones. That indicator is a big deal. If I'm a teacher and I know my classroom's locked and I never even have to even attempt to approach that door, to me that's a lot more security feeling than carrying around one of these big devices. So that's what we talk about, classroom security indicators. You can put them on mortise locks. Exit devices. How many times we have a corridor where the corridor shuts? Free egress out. Corridor locks might be a lock-unlock function. You know, the custodians might say, you know what? I don't want to have to use my key every time to open that door. So that might be unlocked. We can put stuff on exit devices to show indicators. We can do mortise locks. Intruder locks on cylindrical, I'm not a big fan of those. You're still telling that teacher that they've got to go in and they've got to figure out if that door is locked or unlocked. So it's an option. I don't think it's the best option, but maybe it's a start. Just little things.
Are they typically keyed?
The classroom intruder, it's keyed on both sides. So you can have your storeroom function on the outside. If you unlock it and make it a passive set, this is allowing you not to have to open that door to go to the outside, put your key in, lock the door, and then come back in. This allows you to do it all from the inside. It's telling you, don't be frantic, turn the key to the left.
Well, because you mentioned side lights. If there was a side light, someone could shoot a side light out, reach in, unlock the door if it was a thumb turn,
Right.
and we would open it.
Yeah.
So if it's always keyed, then they wouldn't have that capability.
No, you're never locked. All you do is hit the lever.
No, I'm talking about from the outside though.
Mm-hmm.
If an intruder
If
was,
they break the glass and put their hand in and turn the lever, they can get in.
It's always free egress out of the room by turning the lever.
right, but I was talking about the guy trying to get in the room. That's how he could do it if it was a thumb turn.
But even without,
But
they're
he-
saying
he
Even if it was
still-
storeroom and it was always locked,
Even
if
with
you reached
this.
in and turned the lever.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a classroom that's locked down, that had a lock like this, that on the inside, there was a key lock rather than a thumb turn, that he couldn't shoot out a side light, unlock the door, and have access to the classroom.
Let's make sure that we have bullet resistant that sidelight then.
That's probably not allowed. A separate, you're talking about like in a home, we have a separate deadbolt and turn from the inside.
You always have to maintain free egress,
Right.
so you can always turn the lever to get out.
Right.
That's
but
why you
that's-
gotta stop them from,
Right, but I wasn't talking about an egress out of the room, I'm talking about ingress into the room.
Well,
From the
if
intruder.
he can get to the lever, he can open the door.
Well, he could hit the lever,
Right,
or,
right.
okay, I see what you're saying.
There's no thumb
Okay.
turn, but.
All right,
Well,
Once-
there's a-
Don't need a
once
thumb
again,
turn.
It goes
Right,
back
it is
to,
right.
it goes back to what we said. There has never been a classroom breached with a locked lock. The amount of time that that guy or woman, whoever it is that has done this, they have a short amount of time. In their head, they're not thinking. They want to go find the most amount of people at the quickest amount of time they can. They get up to that lock, they can't get in. Could they sit there and just try to bash out the window and do that? Yeah, of course they could. It's going to take a lot more time. It's going to give those responders a lot quicker response to get there.
typically they have an automatic weapon or gun that you shoot out the glass if it's not bulletproof.
Right.
So,
Let's make it bulletproof. We're wanting to put sidelights in our classroom. Let's spend the money and let's make sure we're taking care of our kids. No reason to be cheap on glass, right?
so you have 300 lights.
So let's just put a 3-sided frame.
Let's put an exit door on every classroom so the kids can get out and lock down the door in the corridor where the guy is, and they're safe, and he has nobody who can shoot, even if he broke into the room. So,
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that.
okay,
We're going to talk about securing your perimeter and helping that.
okay.
Electronic locks. You know, keypad push buttons. Wireless lock that you got a wireless fob quick lockdown. You know, put this to your access control and say, you know what, when we do our code wipe, or whatever our code is to break down the room, let's hit our lockdown button and be done with it. That's my favorite option right there. Let's spend the money and let's actually do a full school lockdown and be required by it. This is actually where we're going to start actually making gains in protecting our children. We actually start focusing on the areas that we really need to protect. Any parking garage we come park at downtown, first thing you see a security guard. You got to punch a ticket. You're going through a camera. You're going and you're being tracked through just your one port of entry. Do we do that at schools? Can anybody just drive on campus, park at the visitors parking lot, and they can just walk straight up to the front door, right? So let's expand that perimeter. Huh? Let's expand our perimeter, and let's start from there. I know at my high school, our favorite thing to do was to try to sneak out at lunchtime. And the hardest thing to do was get past the security guard that was sitting at the school parking lot. He was parked on the student side because he wanted to track the students. No one was ever on the parent-employee side tracking them. So we're worried about the students coming in and out of the school, but we're not worried about who's coming in and out of the school. So gates, cameras, protecting our perimeter, I think is a great start. You know, you have a college, and this is where I kind of open up an open discussion because I want to learn and start brainstorming of situations like this. We've got a college where we've got multiple campus buildings. What are good ways to find out who is on our campus? You know, the Virginia Tech shooting, multiple buildings. That was the biggest thing, trying to find out where they were. Where was he going? Started one place, going to the other. I don't have a good solution right now for this. I'd kind of like to hear maybe some thoughts. Have you guys thought about anything like this?
Well, the police have acoustic sensors that may be applicable where they're trying to identify where shots are fired from. That helps localize it.
Okay.
I don't know how it works, frankly, but I know here in St. Louis that they have those kinds of sensors to help with police. And you could have something like that to have some point of beginning, but the problem is the shooter has all the advantages of time and location, and pulling fire alarms, getting people to congregate, bringing those victims to them, not going room by room.
So when we go into the school building, I was at the University of Missouri. We walked into the admissions building, walked right in, walked to the upstairs. Where's the sign-in sheet?
Nobody checked you.
Nobody checked.
Well, nothing's happened there yet, so that's why. That's what it takes.
Right, and that's
It's a shame.
That's the bad part. I agree. We're going to wait for something to happen, and then we're all going to get excited about making the change.
And we got these things.
Right, and we got these things. So, that's right. I didn't know about that. Thanks for letting me know. But, yeah, I think we could find better solutions on how to track people kind of going throughout the campus. You know, and I know when you go into dorm rooms, you do anything like that, you got to swipe your badge. They're giving you an audit trail. Once again, we're making our kids do the procedures, but the parents, the visitors, we just trust them, right? We just trust them, but we don't trust our children. I think this is the biggest one for me in talking about school safety. I love this at my daughter's school. You don't just get to do your traditional going from the exterior to the vestibule to the lobby. Parkland shooter made it all the way to the 3rd floor, pulled the fire alarm, had a duffel bag with him. At the end of the day, and nobody said anything to him. Nobody said anything. But you know what? It was that door lock's fault. That's whose fault it was. It wasn't the administration. It wasn't how we built the building. It wasn't any of that. It was because the door lock couldn't barricade the room. That's what makes me upset. Because that's a cop-out. This situation here, you don't get to come through these doors. It's kind of tough to see, but right here, through the vestibule, you've got to go through the administration building. They're actually listening. You've got to sign in. Majority of the time, that resource officer should be right there. You should be in track. If we create a solid perimeter, and we're having people check in at the perimeter, and then they've got to come in and they've got to hand and give their card, and they can get stamped in here, we know where they went from the perimeter into the front of the school. Is that a preventative measure? We can all agree that maybe that'll help a little bit. Will fix everything? No. But it's a great start. I think it's the right start. It's a lot better start than buying crap like that.
Well, it could be a deterrent.
Yeah.
Because the person who's going to hand over their license isn't going to be the person, but
Yeah.
the person who walks back out the door.
It's something I heard, and I guess it's because I've been in the door industry my whole life, so I'm kind of a weird sicko this way, but I love this. A locked lot only keeps the honest guy out.
I thought that was fences.
It's all of it,
Locks
buddy.
too?
It's all of it, yeah. My dad never talked to me about fences.
I said fences are for honest people.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy wants to break in, or the woman wants to break in, they're going to break in. So we got to do everything extremely hard for them to get in. Are we making it hard for them by buying a $70 to $100 to $200 device at the classroom? Is that making it their job the most difficult in the world to break in? Like I said, you get to the 3rd floor, you pull the fire alarm, nobody has said anything to you. What are those kids supposed to expect? Are they supposed to just sit there and panic? Like, is it a real fire alarm? Is there a guy out there wanting to shoot me? Is it really worth having our kids think about these situations when something like that happens?
Yeah, I don't know if it's this way in schools now, but I mean, at one point, the fire alarm, when someone pulled the fire alarm, it didn't automatically sound to the fire department. It sounded to the office the office would verify whether there was a fire emergency. And then, if and only then, they would need to call the fire department, they directly did that. They don't, I don't know if that still works that way. You know, if that's the case with fire alarms, that they have to sound directly all through the building. In other words, when you pull that alarm, it doesn't blow the whole building. It just sounds to the office and they verify first. And they sound the broad alarm. I don't know if that's legal.
Did Parkland, did they verify the alarm?
I can't say. I mean, I'm not in school design, but, you know, the whole idea, if you're giving an individual, he could wait till you take the trash out to the dumpster. You know, he could come in the back door and pull the fire alarm. And immediately you get, what, 600, 800 kids in the hallways?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you're gonna get them back in those classrooms, especially, these are preschoolers, you know, in some cases.
Right. So let's spend a little bit more time creating a better perimeter. Let's not even let them get to that point. Let's not let them be able to walk all the way around the building to the back door. You know, I was telling you about that Platte Canyon. That guy was at that school just the day before, staking it out. Parked in the same exact parking spot. And nobody said anything. This guy that was a homeless man that lived in his car with a bag full of guns was able to go park at a school, stake it out, and then come back the next day and just walk in freely. To me, that's where we got to get better at our perimeter. And I'm like you. I think the back doors, those are just as important. The perimeter is way more
all the
important.
schools we used to do, especially suburban ones, are all single story. Imagine how many exit doors there are, not to mention windows at ground level. I mean, it's a lot easier to shoot through a window or just kick it out with your elbow than it is to have to go through what you just described there with the lobbies. Because I think that's standard now. When you walk in a building, I think there's always a man trap there, right? They don't let you in. In fact, the slide you showed didn't have any kind of security glass at the transaction counter. And I think a lot of schools do that too. They don't want you to get at their administrators either. You know, they're as afraid of a parent who is getting a divorce, who's going to do suicide by police, and take a bunch of innocent kids with them, including probably their spouse that works in the office or some teacher. You know.
Most new schools are creating the new vestibules, but it's all your old schools that don't have them. I'm getting a lot of projects that are just creating the vestibules.
Yeah.
That's all they're creating.
Well, then you need doors again with ballistic glass and things, the side lights, and you know, you can do a lot of damage with a rapid firearm like that.
We do big barricade devices outside the building, like bollards and things like that, keep you from driving a vehicle into the front entrance also.
I would think it's much easier to stop somebody that has a visible gun or carrying a bag, a big bag of some sort, than it is the guy that looks like dad coming in to pick up his kid, you know, that may have something concealed in his pocket, and, you know, boom, it all happens so quick. No one knows what to do or how to react. It just happened.
Yeah.
So,
And the reality of
so
it,
many different scenarios.
yeah, there are so many. And are we going to be able to stop them all? I'd like to, but the reality is there are going to be bad things that happen in life. But I know for a fact, we come back and we're talking about barricade devices. That's really where we started this conversation. Those aren't the solution. What we're talking about here, solutions of the perimeter, the vestibules, things like this. You know, we've got 3 corridors, you know, held open. Something happens and we can lock down those doors. We close off the active shooter to a big portion of our school. Does it stop them? No. Slows them down. Gives our first responders a lot more time to get there.
Yes.
So one of the things we did on a project that I worked on, those doors are there essentially as fire doors. They're on magnetic holders, so when the fire alarm goes, the door is closed. Compartmentalized in the building. But we connected the hold opens to the central office, and they use that as a security thing. They fill the power to the hold open, and then that allows you to separate the space.
Scott brought me, I thought it was a great idea. Don't close down as much as we can. Get them put in a small location. Don't let it be like Virginia Tech where we don't know where this person's at. I don't want to spend the time trying to locate somebody before trying to get the problem solved. I want to know where that person's at. So just like this. Is it going to stop everything? No. But it's going to help. I think it's going to help pretty big. So. We talked about security decisions must be based on facts, best practices, not on emotional response, and fear-based marketing. We got to start at the beginning of the project. We can't think, okay, well, I'm just cutting money out of there, but everything's going to look nice. We're going to have an awesome cafeteria. We got to start at the very, very beginning. We've got to secure our exterior doors. We've got to make sure that those. When I did keying meetings, I always laughed because everyone wanted to key the exterior buildings different kinds of keys. I said, well, if you get into one door, you're in the building. Who cares if this one's keyed different than the other? It doesn't really not gonna make it better. If they get into the building, that's what they're trying to do. They don't care what door it is. So we got to secure our exteriors. Gives teachers, staff the ability to lock classroom doors and the ability to unlock the door from the inside. These barricade devices aren't going to allow them to do that. They're going to put that into place, and then they're going to be the most scared ever. And then the first time someone starts beating on that door, they don't know what to think. And God forbid something like that jams up and they can't get out. Something happens where someone wants to go and do something bad to a teacher, and they use that device to barricade the door, set the room on fire, hold the gun and say, I'm going to commit suicide, you're coming with me. I don't want that situation on my hands. Increased impact resistance of glazing. If we're wanting to put all this glass, or we're wanting to make this building look so fancy so we can see through everything, let's actually use the good stuff. Let's not try to use the cheap glass. I don't want to be responsible for something like that. I don't want to have a cool, amazing building, and then my windows get shot out, and then a bunch of things happen, and I say, you know what, man? Save $20,000 though. Provide guidance, lockdown, evacuation procedures. We've got to have a solid plan. I believe it's called ALICE, Active Shooter Program that they work in schools. That's a start. But if we're not securing any of our openings, and we're not making it where they can do their drill and know that they're secure, then we're just wasting our time. So like I said,
you have lock technology that can lock down centrally from an office location.
Yep.
Without the teacher having to lock it from the inside. Are those battery operated? Are they 120 volt or what are they?
You can make battery operated. You can have them hardwired.
Well, I mean, if you have a battery, the challenge is always they don't last forever. You got a program that takes care of it.
You're going to do maintenance. You're going to do maintenance on closers. You're going to do maintenance on all kinds of parts of the building. If I say, you know what, each school year we got to replace the batteries in all the room teachers before you end, we're putting new batteries in, I don't think that's that big of a deal. I think the teachers would actually like to pay for 4 AA batteries than to have to learn how to use something like that. Dispel myths that are being used to sell products that are non-code compliant. Like I said, past month I started looking at videos. I was going to show all kinds of cool videos, and I thought it wasn't even worth it. I don't even want you guys to see it. But now what they're starting to talk about is they've got technology out there that's bully resistant. Bully resistant, yeah.
Okay.
Now why are they saying that?
It's a bigger bully.
Yeah. Because what happens is, the fire marshal and everybody says, no, you can't use this because these are the situations that'll happen. So just like anything else, let's not make the situation better. Let's just try to change our language up to try to get around it. If we can get around it, that's all we care about, because they're just trying to line their pocket. Install code-compliant hardware with a function that meets your needs. This is where we really got to sit down with the school districts and say, listen, we want to give you a secure product. We want to be the standard. We want to tell you that when you put this product on there and a situation happens, you're going to come back to us and say, you know what, we're glad we went with you guys. And then encourage schools to rely on experienced hardware consultants like me. And I always thought this was kind of cool. Security is not always convenient, but it's a very, very big priority. It's the biggest priority. So, with that, guys, thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate meeting everybody. Happy to be here in St. Louis. Open it up to you guys' questions, concerns.
So you're not going to tell us the solution?
Well, there's not one solution.
Come on.
We did. Better perimeters.
Oh,
Smart box.
What does that mean? I don't want to be the guy sitting in that little box when a guy comes up with a bag of semi-automatic weapons that wants to get to that school, because that's the first guy he's going to shoot. Okay?
Then you make sure the counter's bulletproof too.
Well, no, that's the guy in the little box out in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's got bulletproof.
Okay? Then he's going to ram through that gate. Okay? Then he's going to go pull up in front of the school, and then he's going to try to get inside.
Ron,
But
don't
if-
you worry, they have to go through Linda to get to you.
I didn't think about that.
They won't,
I don't want Linda to be the person sitting.
they won't ram the gate, they'll drive around it, like in that scene from Blazing Saddles.
There you go. Yeah, because most of them are wood. You know, they'll just they'll drive through or
But
whatever.
if somebody does that, now immediately you know.
Well, George has an intelligent question. Go ahead, George.
No, just a comment, and that is that one thing that I found out when I got involved with the door hardware industry, there are lots and lots of standards that you guys and all your major competitors have to follow. It's a well-regulated, well-standardized industry. These barricade devices don't have those standards.
Correct.
All you have to do to sell one is to make it and put it out there. And I think that, more than anything else, tells you why you want to go with hardware.
This design here,
That's the solution.
this design here was made by a 17-year-old kid in Wisconsin.
I applaud it.
Right.
That was a good design.
Great intention,
Yep.
but you know what? He never spent a day learning about fire and life safety codes.
So when the school purchases these barricades, how come the school doesn't know that they have to be, there's an ethic code to follow?
They don't know building codes either.
No, yeah.
They're just responding to,
Emotion
yeah.
and fear.
This conversation usually starts at a PTA meeting, because
Yes.
these mothers are sick and tired, and they are nervous to death that this is going to happen to their child.
The districts know, the facility managers know, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. With that being said, facility managers, how come they don't go to whoever the accounts payable and say, hey, we have to follow these codes? Is that not talked about?
Because it's all in a reaction. Nobody really is sitting down and thinking of this and saying, okay, here's our options, let's analyze these, let's see if these are going to meet everything. They say, no, let's do it today. Everyone say yay? Yay. Boom, let's do it. I'm running my car tomorrow morning.
So what lock do you typically find on a classroom? Classroom lock,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Okay, so you can, if the door's locked, someone from the outside can't get in, but you can always get out.
Always.
Okay?
The
So
problem,
that's not working?
Well, the problem is in an intruder situation, someone has to go out in the corridor and lock it, and they're exposed.
With their key, then they're in the line of fire.
So then the simple answer is, put a different lock on there,
Right.
so that you can just lock the door without having to go to the door?
Correctly.
No,
So you can lock it from
the
inside.
Or put a automatic lock on it that can be triggered from the office,
So, or
and all of them
electric
lock.
it.
But now you've got a student that went to the bathroom who's locked out of the classroom.
But
Now what
then-
do you do?
But then you have a procedure in place.
Well, that's what it is, those classroom locks are how they are. It's because when class is in session, you're not supposed to be able to just freely walk and go in and out of classrooms.
Well, but it
So I know
happens.
me, whenever I had my hall pass, and I go use the bathroom in the middle of class, and I come back, I couldn't stay out for 15, 20 minutes and then try to find a way to sneak back into the classroom, because I always had to knock on that door. The teacher always going to let me in and say, "Where you been?" So that's how this is supposed to work. But what happens is we talk about procedure, knowing how to train. We need to start telling the teachers the importance of not being lazy because you don't want to go out there when class starts to lock your door.
What about the door itself? I mean, typically, classroom doors are flush wood doors. They've got a particle board core, and they've got a hardwood edging. It seems like that's a mistake nowadays. I mean, it seems like to achieve this, again, with rapid fire weapons, you need something that's gonna stay in place, like a hollow metal door.
Yeah.
Even if it has a decorative overlay or
But
something.
see, now
No,
you've gotta
I
go back to,
disagree,
like I
because
said with design,
You said the
get
final
the kids
report
out of the
of
room.
Sandy Hook shooting was that no one got through a locked door.
Correct.
So who cares what door's made out of?
Right.
They're going to
And-
path of least resistance.
What you
Right.
do in the design stage, they always usually have a narrow line in it. You try to make them narrower and move it over toward the hinge instead of toward the lock side, so that they can't break the glass and reach in and open the door. So in design stage for architects, that's what they need to do, is make them narrower and move toward the hinge side.
Still a wood door.
Still a wood door, yeah.
Well, and along with design, you need to think about where, so you need to give those kids something to hide behind, right? In the Parkland, they all went behind the walls so that nobody could see them and that they wouldn't be detected. You know, so if you've got an all glass opening, you're just sitting ducks.
Why don't we put a dummy room in these schools that invites the guy in, okay? And then close him up in it, like a mousetrap.
You're giving the presentation next time.
I think that's the mantra at the entrance. Yeah, that's where you want.
That's where you gotta stop
You
them.
want to stop them right there.
And a lot of
But the thing is, it's the dad, that's the psycho dad that
Right.
shows up and just seems like the nicest guy in the world in the vestibule. But once he gets to the classroom where his kid is, that his wife doesn't want him to have, who the teacher's not gonna let him take, that's when he pulls out the gun and starts shooting. Okay?
But you don't
But you
go
gotta
to the
detect the
classroom,
weapon
you
at the
get
front
your
entry,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Ron, you
But-
don't go to the classroom to get your kid anymore, you go into the office and they.
Yeah.
well, if I have a gun, I'm gonna go wherever I want
Well,
to.
if you got in,
Yeah.
yes.
But you're saying that the more open schools are colleges these days. Because I'll be honest, the schools that I've been in recently, you will not get through that door unless you go through the administration first. So, you know,
Because they
and that's been for the past few years. So that's what I'm saying. I can understand if you're at a college campus because they're so open. Because there's more buildings, since you have to go into each separate building. You know, the administration building is not next to the library where you need to go, or to the science building where you need to go. But in an elementary school, you know, they're not gonna buzz you in until you show some type of identification at the administration's office.
No, and that's where we're starting to get better. That's a start.
I worked on schools just within the last 2 years where they didn't have the secure dust shields. Special school district, they could just walk right into the school.
Who buzzed the Parkland shooter in?
Did he need to be buzzed in?
I think
Do
he
we
shot
know?
through a glass pane, right, with that door where.
No, that was Sandy Hook.
No, I thought he just came in
He
a
just
side
walked in.
door
He walked in?
and then migrated up through the stairwell.
You just came in and unlocked the exterior.
Yeah.
A lot of this goes back to educating the schools also, as far as locking down your secondary exits. You don't want those doors go up, down, or unlocked, so the kids can come and go back and forth.
I'm
You wanna
like-
educate the teachers for that. I've got schools where the teachers don't wanna carry their key on their person. They don't wanna carry a key. But the school district needs to start, requiring you to carry your key on your person at all times. So if a kid did lock themselves into their classroom, you can get in there, first responders can get in.
I think by definition, the people that do this are crazy. And by anyone who would consider, it's not a crime of passion in terms of, a failed marriage. It's not robbery. It's not a military, it's a mentally deranged person. And I think the problem is, I hate to say it, I'm a gun owner, probably 3/4 of the people in here maybe are, I don't mean to ask, but the prevalence of firearms in our society is just out of sight. We're totally out of control. I understand the Second Amendment and all that, but, it's kind of like the spy versus spy. There's no circumstance here where we can really effectively, with hardware and doors, prevent this kind of thing, because anywhere children congregate, or where they're waiting for the bus, or they're discharging for the end of the day, where they're doing the fire alarm drills, they're innocents. There's no way that all of that can be effectively protected, even with the best laid plans for a determined person like this.
So I'm
and
gonna
it's not
push
just
back.
schools,
I'm
it's
gonna push
everywhere.
back and say, doors, locks, we are doing our job.
This is a sideshow. It's incidental, and I agree with you. I'm an architect, I write specifications, not for hardware, but, it's trying to put our finger in the dike of the firearm prevalence in the society.
But what we're here to talk about is door hardware, not society.
Yeah.
And
But Fred, I will say this, they're going, if there's those securities, most likely they're not gonna go there. They go for easy targets.
Sure.
So if they've gotta do anything that's gonna deter them, they don't wanna do that. They wanna be able to just walk in, do what they're gonna do, and be dead or try to get out of it.
We're talking about schools today, but we can have a whole different conversation about convention centers, churches.
Even here,
Hospitals.
even right now.
Even right now, who's stopping
Absolutely.
anybody right now coming in here and doing that?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we can have a conversation about society. You're right. But today, doors have never been breached on a lock. We're doing our job. How do we make the rest of the school a lot better?
Well, when you started to show those barricade devices, I was like, oh gosh, because not long ago, probably 6 months ago, my youngest son and his wife, we were having dinner and they started talking about their school was having this parent meeting to talk about school security, and I went, oh my gosh, knowing what I know, because I was scared to death that you were going to get somebody showing these types of devices into a local school district and getting the fear going enough. So, I'm like, here's information from the industry. If you hear anybody talking about barricade devices, don't let them talk to you about this. But
Right.
it's based on fear, and I think these school districts are like, well, we have to do something, we have to talk about this, but then they don't have the right people to talk about a part of the security, right? Locks are part of it. Like you said, you have your perimeter, you have your rings of security.
We've got to make a solution. We've got to make it right now. We're not going to think about it. Let's just think of something or say something and let's do it. My daughter came home to me one night and she told me, hey Dad, we did a shooter in place drill. It was so much fun today because we were able to take textbooks and we got to throw them at the door.
Oh my gosh.
They're teaching my 10-year-old daughter how to use a textbook for a weapon if someone's coming with a gun. I called the school the next day because that ticked me off.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend the money on your school, but you want my daughter to self-defend herself with a textbook that you guys don't even read 3/4 of?
It's a big conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's not just a quick little fix. There's lots of things that we can do a lot better. But that's not better.
So, but you're saying that's not better because that prevents from fire.
It prevents you from egressing the room, and it could
What's
barricade.
stopping me from barricading this right now?
All of
and
us
setting off
in
a
here.
bomb in my bag.
Yeah.
How are you going to get out?
Sure. Absolutely.
So
And then when the fire department shows up and they can't get in to save any of us.
Right.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is that, as much as the shooting deaths are on our minds, it's a very small number compared to other problems, other incidents. You know, rapes inside locked classrooms and fires and stuff like that. You know, we're not talking about thousands of kids dying over the last 30 years. We're talking less than 100 probably.
It's, and this will be my last story. When I was in elementary school, you always see the fire blanket. Always at the fire blanket at the schools and the classrooms. The teacher always tell you, if this building catches on fire, or you catch on fire, go grab that blanket, wrap yourself in it, roll around, and you're good. I was scared to death. Because I never actually got to pull that blanket out and try it out. So growing up, I kept thinking, oh my God, if there was a fire that happens, I don't know how to use that blanket. Well, then as time went on, it just became something normal. I just saw that blanket sit up there and I didn't think about it anymore. Because it became the norm. I don't want this to become the norm. I don't want kids to say, oh, well, that's just in case someone breaks in and tries to kill us all. That's what that's for. I don't want that to be the norm. So. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me.